What's up, guys? It's everyone's favorite Campy here, and today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about a PSA 10.5 inch AR pistol that I just put together yesterday. This particular one weighs 6.4 pounds. And I know how quick people are to call me a liar and everything like that. It's actually 6.38, but I rounded up the additional 0.02 pounds, and I think that that's okay because you could accrue that much weight just in carbon buildup in your suppressor, but you guys aren't smart enough for that. Anyway, so what I've done with this one to make it weigh 6.4 pounds is assembled it. And that's pretty much it. I just put this thing together the way that I had the original 10.5, which was, I had a suppressor on it. It was not a Dead Air Nomad. The original suppressor I had on my 10.5 inch gun was a quiet bore. It was a Form 1 can that I had done, and that was before they made the Generation 2 of those, and now I'm pretty sure you can't even buy them. So anyway, Sig Romeo 5, same red dot that I had on the other one, and Magpul M-Bus flip up rear sight, same rear sight that I had on the other one. This one came with a different pistol brace than the one that I had before, and I feel like just because it's, you know, more minimalist and stuff like that, that might be also partially why it is lighter. Anyway, so this is also because this is one of the questions I got very frequently about the other 10.5 inch guns that I did videos on, phosphate or nitride. This is the first nitride one that I've purchased. The ones before were phosphate. Now, let's talk a little bit about the videos that I posted about the 10.5 inch PSA AR pistols before. One, they were my most viewed videos on YouTube. And two, they caused more ass hurt than any of my other YouTube videos. And what I mean by that is, people are really quick to call you a liar whenever they're hiding behind a keyboard and whenever they may not have the means to do what you do, or they don't understand what your situation is. And I would say that's okay, but it's not. I've given these people multiple opportunities to meet me in person. Oftentimes I will tell them where I will be and when I will be there so that they can come and talk to me about it in person. And they choose not to because they're cowards. Anyway, what happened to the original gun that I had over 10,000 rounds through? And by the way, those 10,000 rounds were either given to me for the most part or heavily discounted because I had a YouTube channel before this YouTube channel. Anyway, so what happened to the original 10.5 that had all those rounds through it? Well, after I'd posted my videos about how awesome it was and everything like that and how I didn't have failures with it and everything, I decided that it deserved to continue being used. So I gave it to my grandfather. My grandfather is getting up there in age, and by they I mean my grandfather and grandmother, have been screwed over by the government just like a lot of us have, and unfortunately they are having I'm not going to say they're having a hard time because I believe they are comfortable financially, but I know that my grandfather would probably never have the money to purchase an AR-15 on his own. So I gifted him the 10.5 inch gun that had all those rounds through it and everything because, you know, again, I wanted it to continue being used, and I knew that it would mean a lot to my grandfather that I gave it to him. So I gave it to him for Christmas right after the motorcycle accident that I was in. So one of the most common questions that I got in that video was nitride or phosphate, and I did not have an answer for people. I told them I couldn't remember because it had been so long that I had done that review. 10,000 rounds doesn't go through a gun in one day, guys. But I went back in my PSA account and figured out that it was actually the phosphate. So the two guns that I was using in testing, one of them that had the super heavy round count and the other one that I used in classes and stuff like that, they were both phosphate. This one is nitride. So now you guys know. I assembled this thing last night, have not put a single round through it, and I'm going to. I'm going to shoot it with the iron sights and with the red dot. I'm going to zero it, and it's probably going to end up being a truck gun. I did a couple of videos on my Patreon about sort of a truck gun philosophy or a bedside gun philosophy, or whatever. And if you guys go to my Patreon and subscribe to my Patreon and give me money, then you can watch those videos. But I'm not going to discuss that further on here because there are people paying me for that information. All right, so here I am. I've got the AR pistol all set up. I'm going to zero the Sig Romeo 5 red dot, and these will be the first rounds out of the gun, period. First test is, will it chamber? Chambered just fine. In case you're wondering about the cleaning regimens that I use for stuff like this, or what type of lubrication I use, I actually make my own. I use wheel bearing grease and motor oil, and I use a mixer on a drill, and I mix that together, and that's what I use to lube. And what I've found is it increases the lifespan of a lot of the parts on your gun, because you got to think, the things that destroy the metal parts in anything is improper lubrication and maintenance scheduling. So if you use a higher viscosity oil or grease then on the appropriate parts, then that metal will last longer and typically show wear later on in its lifespan. And I used, whenever I assembled this, I lubricated every little part, just like whenever I assemble any AR. I lubricated everything that you will not easily be able to reach whenever you're doing your normal maintenance cycles. Anyway, all right, so it chambered that first round. I wonder if I'm going to need hearing protection for this. We will see. I have a steel target at 80 yards. I'm going to aim at the center. And it hit that piece of steel somewhere. I can't really tell exactly where, so I'm going to take a look. Okay. Either that's a flower. I'm a little shaky. Okay, it looks like it hit a little bit low right, or that might be a flower, but there are no impacts that I can see at the top of the target. Sweating my dick off. So that means that I need to bring my elevation up anyway. So we'll go ahead and bring it up about, let's go a half rotation and see where that puts us. Oop, went a little far. Okay. Also, it was very pleasant to the ear, and I didn't get a crazy amount of gas in my face. Normally you won't after just one shot, but sometimes whenever you're running a suppressor on something like this, you get an insane amount of gas in your face. And what I suggest for that is to get a PRI gas buster charging handle. This is just a standard charging handle, or modify your standard charging handle. I also, for guns like this, I will typically use a larger end cap on my suppressor so that more of that gas will flow out the end of the suppressor. I'm using a 30 cal suppressor on a 5.56. So these are just some little tidbits. We'll just call that free stuff. All right, I'm going to use the same point of aim. which is the center of the target. I think I can see it. It looks like it's elevation wise, it looks like it's right where I want it to be, a little bit right. And if the other impact is where I think it is, they were both a little bit to the right. So I'm going to move my point of impact to the left a little bit, but just a little bit. Maybe like, I think each click is a half MOA. So it would be almost 2 inches with 4 clicks at 80 yards. Give it one extra little click and see what happens. So 5 clicks. Let's try this again. Oh, glasses help. I have astigmatism, and it makes red dots look like a big fucking whatever. Alright, the elevation I'm going to hold is going to be the same. Man, that trigger's heavy. It's a regular mil-spec trigger. Still. I'm getting a little gas in the face. That's okay. Alright. Oh yeah, those last 3 right in the center, right where I want them. Whew. I'm gonna maybe bump my elevation up a little bit to simulate a farther zero. 2 more clicks, and I'm gonna cap this thing off. And we can go down range right now. Go look at the target. What's great is I didn't even bore sight this one, I just shot it. All right. Okay, so it turns out that that first round was actually low left and not low right. There are some flowers between me and the target that cover up about the bottom 1/8 of the target, about bottom 1/4 of the target, something like that. And one of those flowers is a little bit to the right of center and low, and that's what I thought was my impact, but I was wrong. And those last 3 looked good. And now what I'm gonna do is a term that is improperly used in the military all the time. It's called lollipopping. And what you do when you're lollipopping is you either use your iron sights that are zeroed to get a rough zero on your red dot, or you use your red dot that is already zeroed to get a rough zero on your iron sights. It is not where whenever you're shooting a qual, you have your rear sight down, you look through your red dot, you put your red dot on the top of your front sight and put that on the target and pull the trigger, because your red dot should be parallax free out to a certain distance. I'm not going to explain that to you because I explain it on my Patreon, and people pay me for that kind of information. Adjusting your front sight is a task that is much easier with a front sight tool. Alright, let's see where we're at now. Alright, we're pretty close. So I'm going to turn this red dot off. Alright, the red dot is off. And with my Ernsights, I'm going to fire 3 rounds at the target downrange. All right. Now, let's have a look at where them went. Those went almost exactly where I was aiming. I was using this little hill that's between me and the target as my elevation reference, and they are right there at that elevation reference, and they look to be generally centered in the target. However, that is not where I want my rounds to go from my iron sights. I would like my rounds to impact about 4 inches high at this distance. So I am going to adjust my iron sights some more, and then I'm going to fire another 3-round group at the target using that hill line and the center of the target as my point of aim. Whoo, Lordy, it's getting hot. All right. Now, I adjusted 3 clicks with the front sight. Let's see where that puts us. Looks like almost the exact same place, which is not what I want. Yep, it looks like it's almost exactly the same place. So, I'm gonna go up 3 more. Three more clicks. My Ernsights. My Ernsights. I think that's where I want it to be. It looks like it is about center of the target, which is about 3 or 4 inches above my point of aim, and generally centered. All right, cool beans. So now I have a zeroed red dot and zeroed iron sights. So now I'm just gonna play with this and imagine, if you will, a PSA that functions. Isn't it weird how whenever you assemble something properly, you go ahead and lubricate the parts and stuff like that, how it just works? Man, that's bananas. All right, I've got 5 steel targets downrange. I don't need you anymore. All right, so steel target number 1 is the largest. Hit. Steel target number 2 is the second largest. Nice. Steel target number 3 is the smallest. Steel target number 4 is the second smallest. And steel target number 5 is equal size to the smallest target. I'd say we're 0, gentlemen. Let's just fucking do it. Oh, that was the last one. Right on. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that if you want to call me a liar, you are man enough to come and say it to my face. I will tell you where and when I will be there, and you can come meet me at your leisure. Anyway, don't be some keyboard warrior troll faggot, and get out there and suck today's dick.